My name is Michael Alden. This is my final project for Mus66E Ableton Live for the winter 2015 at Foothill. So my intended audience is all the groovy people, mostly my mom. Try to show her that I'm not just surfing my life away and getting salty, but I'm trying to make music as well. So my direction is to kind of do something that's rhythmic but has a little bit of a trippy quality as well. So I started with the drums, which is I usually write music that way. Start with the rhythm and see what comes, what wants to happen next. But I did add in some sampling, Moroccan chanters and the like to give it that trippy vibe that I've spoken about. So you can see here I've labeled my clips, the drums, got my bass color coordinated, guitar version change, acoustic basses. Over here I had all my vocals stacked on one track, but I found that sometimes I wanted to use them at the same time, so I also put them on individual tracks as well. And so that's how I started with the drums. Then I inverted the drums to give it a flavor, which was kind of nice for fills leading up to the choruses. Bass. Bass for the chorus as well. I also wanted to use some acoustic instruments to give it a nice feel, a little more organic. So I had some friends play guitar on it, as well as some bass. That kind of stuff. So as I said, I started with the drums, kind of gave me a direction. I started thinking about a change first for some reason, so I played that on the piano. Went from there, and once I had the change, I kind of felt like I knew where it wanted to. I felt where it was wanted to resolve to, and that gave me my verse. And there we went. As far as markers, back to the drums. Excuse me. We'll go over here to my Moroccan chanter buddy. You can see to keep the sample in time with the tempo of the song, I threw in a bunch of warp markers. And I used, for the warp mode, the one I felt beats because of the quality of the sound. Same thing with the drums. I put in beats. For some of the other more harmonic instruments, I use tones, but I digress. So again, with the drums, I also used the manipulation of the envelopes on the drums, particularly on the hi-hats, which allowed me to give it a little more of a human feel than just the standard beat from the machine, computer beat. So I kind of adjusted the envelopes here to give it a little bit of movement on the hi-hat. For my audio to MIDI, I first experimented with guitar. I took a guitar track and tried to convert that to MIDI, and when I applied different sounds to that converted track, it just didn't seem to, it was really glitchy. So then I did a vocal track and my first vocal attempt was a little bit glitchy as well, so I just simplified everything and just sang 4 descending notes, and then ended up using a choir sound, which I kind of like. I also used, not only did I have some effects on there from Ableton, but I also used a third-party plugin, the Fab Filter Simplon, which was, the trial was free, which gives me an XY, so I kind of pick a couple filter and did some automation with that later on in the arrangement view. I also, in the arrangement view, did some other automation, but I'll get to that later. While we're here in the session view, I'll talk about my sends and my effects, sends and returns. I on my A and B, I put a nice reverb median concert on the A. On B, I put a delay. It's called whirness, and just kind of each track individually. A lot of them didn't have it, but most of my vocal tracks, as you can see over here, I like to add a little bit of effect.
First they spring, but true love came to me. We believe.
So you can kind of hear the various amounts. I tried to be somewhat consistent with the delay and the reverb, but not always. And then on individual tracks, I use different inserted effects from Ableton. Here you can see I use the phaser and a multiband dynamics. On some of the vocals, I boosted the input output, just to keep the levels more in sync with the rest of the tracks, the digital tracks, the MIDI tracks, and what have you. But a lot of the stuff, even on the drums, had an insert on the track, nice reverb and a simple delay as well. On the bass, I used compression, particularly on the acoustic bass, and then I used a warmer, which is nice, kind of a tube effect, and it has an amp that the rectifier, I guess, after the Mesa Boogie. Really kind of gives that thicky, compressed bass sound. Kind of liked it. So moving on, for my rack, big fan of nice racks. I started with the drums again, and I enjoy the 808 sounds, and so I put an 808 on the snare, 808 on the kick, and then the kick as well. I added this Jane's kick, which kind of fattened it up. Snare, again, I went with the 808 snare, and there's another sound that I command, dragged it down right on top of the other sound, creating a rack. Kind of gave it a little extra beef rather than just the 808, which I was really nice and happy with. So there's my drum rack. So as far as the instruments out of Ableton Live, I used not only the drums, this nice urban bass sound that I already played for you, but we can do that again just to give you an idea. I really liked it. That's my cabinets rumbling. also added, you could hear the piano in there, but I usually start a lot of the melody stuff with piano and then build from there. I also had a synth, kind of arpeggiating synth sound. One of my rhythm tracks for the verse portion was this wah clavinet sound. It's kind of the big part of my verse. But I also had synth stuff, a couple other things along the way. So there's that. We talked about the FabFilter Simplon. For the markers, the only markers I used in the session were for the warping. In the arrangement, I put a marker here at the beginning after the first sample came in, so I would know where I wanted to negotiate the beginning of the music. Then I put one in the song middle here, just to kind of give me a roadmap as to how far along I was to stay within the parameters of the project. And then at the end, I had one to set where I wanted to begin my automation. I did some of the automation throughout the tune, some phaser stuff, and the Simplon filtering that was on that one choir track. But toward the end here on the drums, I automated the reverb toward the end of the track to kind of make it just kind of a little more fun as it was departing. Same thing with the clavinet. You can see here the automation that was on the choir sound that I spoke about, which is the Simplon. But the clavinet here, pardon me, that wasn't quite the end of the song, so anyways, you get the idea of the effects automation. I also did automation in the session view by clicking on the session automation activator here, and I did some phaser work in there. I wanted to actually augment that, and so what I did was put it on the Moroccan chant. Toward the end of the song is more than toward the beginning. So there you have it. I think I've pretty much told you about as much as I can about this project up to this point. Some of the things that I would have liked to utilize more is, excuse me for skipping this aspect. I mapped out in the arrangement, in the session view, an arrangement of all my clips. As you can see here, I picked keys on my computer, and so that when I was launching all my clips, then I wrote all of that out onto a piece of paper, so I kind of kept an idea of that. One of the things that I did have trouble with was getting my clips to stop. So I benefited from the cut and paste aspect of the arrangement view in getting rid of some stuff that I didn't stop on cue as I would have liked to, which is great, just to be able to run through and make a mix and not be stuck with that, to be able to then manipulate it afterwards with cutting and pasting, and also adding on some automation, even recording more into that with synth stuff. So that about wraps it up. Thanks so much for the opportunity and for a great class. Appreciate it. I enjoyed your videos as well, and I wish all my classmates the best of luck. It's now 9:22, 11:59 the thing's due, so peace, love, and guacamole. Michael Alden signing off. Mus66E Ableton Live.